is my 2025 Kawasaki ZX-6R. I bought this bike back in April, brand new, and I've had it for about 6 months now, so I kind of wanted to make a little video, talk about things I do like, things I don't like, would I recommend it to anyone else. So let's get into it. They are not kidding about that photo enforce thing. This is the first time I've come down here in probably like a month down this road, and there are so many more speed cameras than there used to be. I used to know where all of them are. I've seen like at least 3 new ones today, so we're gonna be taking it easy. There's one up here. The first thing I like about this bike is how it looks. I really like the redesign for 2024 and up. I think it really helped to get the bike more in line with its bigger brother, the ZX-10. It looks a little bit more aggressive, kind of like the ZX-10. It differentiates it more from some of the smaller bikes as well. I really like the redesign. At first, I didn't really like it when I first saw the 24s, but honestly, it grew on me with time. And by the time I was ready to buy, I really liked it. As well as this colorway, this white and red. It's the same thing. I saw pictures of it online and I'm like, I don't know. You know, what I didn't really like was this like gray on the front. I thought it looked kind of weird, but I realized it was just kind of the renders online that I saw that were just, I didn't really like the way the gray looked in that. When I went to the dealership to see it in person, I actually really liked it, and the red rims honestly were what sold me about this bike. I love the red rims. I think this is probably my favorite colorway of the bike. This is kind of funny. I was trying to film like just a POV ride thing for the fall, now that it's, you know, trees are changing and stuff, on the way down to where I started this video, and I ended up getting stuck behind a trailer, like a truck pulling a trailer, and it was slow as hell. I finally got around that, and then I immediately got stuck behind a box truck. And I was stuck behind that, because the thing is, like, this section, like this road really doesn't have any passing zones. It's a lot of kind of up and down and around and stuff, and so because of that, there's no, I can't think of a single passing zone along most of this road up until you get like actually into the parks, which I was well past that at that point. So yeah, now we're kind of on the way back, stuck behind a panel van, cargo van, whatever. The next thing I really like about this bike is the power. Before this, I did have a Ninja 400, and I had a ton of fun riding that bike, but after having it for like 4 years, I did desire a little bit more, you know? I feel like this bike has a lot of power that you absolutely don't need for the street, and you can definitely get in trouble on this bike, but it's also not so much that, you know, I'm never leaving first gear. I think that's the biggest thing for me about not necessarily really wanting to get a 1000, at least not anytime soon, is that I like shifting gears, and well, when first gear can break every speed limit in the country, you know, not exactly doing a whole lot of that. But yeah, for me, I really like the amount of power this has. It's fun, it can rip. You know, not saying I do anything illegal or anything like that, you know, but, you know, if I want to get on the highway and have a little rip, I can do that. I also can kind of ride it around on just regular roads and not feel like I'm lugging the bike too much, though. I like it. It's good for me. It's a good amount. Next thing I really like about this bike is the sound. I am an absolute sucker for high revving inline 4 Japanese bikes. These are the kind of bikes that got me into riding. I love the way this thing sounds. I have a little LV10 from Leo Vinci slip-on there. I think it sounds pretty good. I might eventually do like the resonator delete. I don't think I'm going to do a full system, but I love the way this thing sounds, especially when you get it up high in the revs. That's not to say I don't like the sounds of other types of engines either, but this is it for me. I love this. Something else I really like about this bike is how it handles. It feels super solid, feels super planted. Anytime I'm going through a corner, that was one of my biggest complaints about my Ninja 400 is I didn't feel like I had a whole lot of confidence cornering on that. It felt light, it felt kind of squirrely. I feel like part of it was just the suspension was a lot cheaper. Obviously, that bike is built to a price point. You know, I mean, so is this one technically, but you know, this has a much more premium suspension setup, fully adjustable, all that. Whereas like that, you know, that's not on a 400, not on the Ninja 400 at least. But yeah, I like the extra weight of this bike. It feels like it's not obviously heavy. It's only like 420 pounds or something like that. But I like the way it feels. I like the way it handles. It feels fantastic in a corner, or even at speed. It feels really solid. Something else I really like about this bike is the tech. I love the quick shifter. I do kind of wish it was up and down with an auto blipper. That would be really nice, but even just up, it's super nice. This bike doesn't have a whole lot of tech. It does have quick shifter, yeah, I just said that. It does have traction control, which I've never had on a bike before this. Or I should say I never had on my Ninja 400. That thing didn't have anything. It didn't have ABS. It was nothing. It was just, you know, pure bike. This also does not have ABS, but that's just because I didn't want to pay for it. That is something you can get on this bike. It is more expensive, though. But yeah, the quick shifter, traction control. I do really like the TFT display as well. I kind of thought that the TFT displays were more of just kind of a gimmicky thing, and I'm like, whatever, do I really care? But honestly, it's really nice. It's super easy to read. On my Ninja 400, the little LCD or whatever screen that it had, if you got like a little bit of sun on it, you just couldn't read it. It was just completely reflective, or you know, the sun was just too bright, whatever. It was super hard to read in the sunlight. This is super clear. I love it. I like the color. Now that I have it, I don't want to get rid of it, you know. I've rambled a lot about what I do like about the bike. Are there any things that I don't really like about the bike? I think something that, in the right application, it makes sense. And it makes sense why the bike is set up like this. But, you know, I'm not always doing this kind of riding. And that's the ergonomics, right? It's a super sport. It has super aggressive ergonomics. The bars, the clip-ons I should say, are low. The pegs are high. My ass is in the air. My back hurts. It's part of riding a super sport. I don't mind it on roads like this where I'm kind of moving around a bit, leaning into corners and stuff, but if I get stuck in traffic in this thing, awful. There's a reason that in my videos, almost every time I'm pulling up to a stoplight, I'm putting it in neutral and sitting up. I don't do that on any of my other bikes. I always leave them in gear and just kind of sit there. The Triumph, the Grom, because those are both, you know, just upright bikes. But I do feel a need of like, no, I need to sit up for a second with this thing. It makes sense, and at some point I do want to get into you know, going to the track. It's not an immediate thing, but I do want to get into doing that in the next couple of years, and I know I'm going to like having these kind of ergos for that. But for street riding, when you're not, you know, kind of on some twisty back roads having fun, it can be a little uncomfortable. Another big thing I don't like, and it's not necessarily the bike itself, but it's just the nature of owning a super sport, and that's insurance. I had to switch insurance companies. I got quoted, I had Progressive originally when I bought this, or when I was about to buy this, and they quoted me like $4,300 for a year's worth of, you know, full coverage. I ended up switching to Dairyland. They quoted me, I think it was like $900, which still sucks. You know what I mean? But it's a lot cheaper. But it is just, I mean, that's the nature of, you know, I'm 25 years old. I'm a younger guy, and I'm buying a super sport. I'm buying a piss missile. It's going to be expensive to insure. That sucks, but, you know, again, it's not necessarily the bike itself, just kind of the nature of owning one. But it is what it is. But yeah, honestly, that's kind of it for things I don't like. It's mostly just the ergos can get a little bit uncomfortable. I guess there's not a lot of storage, but again, it's a super sport. These are things that, like, they're not necessarily downsides of the bike, they're compromises, right? Like, the ergos are great for track riding and stuff like that, and riding the bike more at its limit than they are sitting in traffic, and that's what it's designed to do. Same thing, it's not designed to go touring. There's, you know what I mean? There's no luggage on this thing. They're compromises. They're not necessarily downsides, but I think they're worth mentioning. I also can't not mention this, the whole recall situation. I made a video talking about this before. I'm over it at this point, but that was really like a frustrating situation in the time. You know, it's like, hey, I just bought this brand new motorcycle. I've had it for less than a month, and now I can't ride it or it might blow up. You know, and it was like just under 2 months from received notice to, you know, inspection done, nothing wrong with the bike, I can keep riding. Which, you know, I've had the bike for 6 months. This is supposed to be a 6-month review, but really I've only been able to ride it for 4 of those months, because for 2 of those months it was just sitting in my garage collecting dust or sitting at the shop getting inspected to make sure it won't blow up. So, worth mentioning, but that's obviously, if you're, you know, going forward, considering buying one of these, it's not really going to be a problem, considering they've figured that out, it seems like. So yeah, all things considered, pros and cons, do I think this is a bike that you should get? Yeah, absolutely. I love this thing. It's a ton of fun. If you're willing to compromise with not having any storage and having uncomfortable ergonomics for the street, absolutely it's worth it. It looks great, it sounds great, it's so much fun to ride, it has a good amount of power, and this is something that if you wanted to get into track riding, obviously this is like the perfect bike for it. So I absolutely love it, highly recommend. Anyway, if you want to see some more videos with this bike, or I also have a Honda Grom and a Triumph Street Scrambler, if you're interested in either one of those, feel free to check out the channel, see if there's anything there that you like, and you know, maybe drop a like or a comment if you have any questions about this bike or any others, what it's like owning them, anything like that. Anyway, hope you enjoyed, hope you got something useful out of this, and I'll hopefully see you all next time.